Jesus Christ. Bless us as we continue to walk once again toward Calvary this Lenten season. Help us to remember those less fortunate, including those whose lives are affected by a death of a loved one, disease and sickness, as well as wars. Remind us to keep these, your blessed and yet suffering people, in our prayers. Help us be the sheep that serve the least of these, who are hungry, thirsty, needing clothing, sick and in prison, especially in Lent. Give grace to our people who work for the children of this community and work to eradicate polio worldwide. And bless the hearts of those who prepared and served our food, all for your sake. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's do a quick rotary minute.
What?
Oh, are we not doing that now? Okay, never mind, we're not doing a rotary minute. Come on up here,
That was quick. You had to be fast.
Obviously, you're very out of practice. Okay. You know, Linda, I loved that prayer. It was beautiful, but I feel like today, instead of singing a song, that we need to re-pray over the program. And I think we can do that with a little help from a Baptist preacher. So if you'll take a moment of silence, we are going to listen to how you pray over NASCAR. Can we have that?
Lebanon, Tennessee. Heavenly Father, we thank you tonight for all your blessings. You said in all things give thanks. So we want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. And most of all, we thank you for Rouse and Yates partnering to give us the power that we see before us tonight. Thank you for GM Performance Technology and the R17 engines. Thank you for Sunoco Racing Fuel and Goodyear tires that bring performance and power to the track. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife. Lord, I pray it bless the drivers and use them tonight. May they put on a performance worthy of this great track. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
You didn't know. You didn't know. Well, as you know, this has been my month to be Sergeant of Arms, and today is my last day. Okay, but have a seat because we are going to test your Olympic knowledge today. And I have the outstanding help of our Students of the Month. I have Walker and Little Bit who are going to help us. And the way this is going to work is I am going to ask the table that is holding the Olympic flame a true or false question. If you get it right, good, put in $1. If you miss it, too bad. I'm going to ask you a follow-up question and you put in $1. And then they pass the flame on to another table. We have 6 questions. Everyone's going to need $1. And don't forget, this is for our scholarship fund. All right, Walker, pass the flame to the first table that's going to answer this question. Question number 1. The 2026 Olympics, Winter Olympics, had a mascot named Tina. True or false? Hit that one. What, ding dong, you okay? Yell it out. It's not your table. Put in $1. True or false? True. Great. What was the mascot? You all, this is a truth. They are so over anxious that so they're phoning a friend over here. What was the mascot? Bzzz, time's up. Put in $1. No, you didn't. It was too slow. What? Tell us what it was. It was a
Little white dog.
stoat, a weasel. Thank you very much. Number 2. Pass the torch.
Mr. Mike Coon's table.
True or false? The Olympics used to be performed in the nude.
True.
Listen to them. They cannot contain themselves. Where is our fundraiser today to say give money for Lobster Fest? True or false?
True.
True. And why is that?
They were nuts.
They were nuts. Okay. That is not quite it. In ancient Olympia, the males performed nude, and gymnasium comes from the Greek word gymnos, which means naked. So when you say, I'm going to the gym. Number 3, true or false? Pass that torch. Y'all just snatch it out of their hands and move faster with this because it's so exciting. Number 3, here we go. The Olympic flame has been used since the beginning of the Olympics. True or false? False. You're wrong. Put in $1. It's only been used since 1936 in the Summer Olympics in Berlin. Pass that torch. Number 4. Number 4. The youngest Olympian to ever perform was this year, the 15-year-old. True or false? It is false. Who was the youngest Olympian? 12-year-old. Just put in $1. In fact, put in 2. It was Demetrius Flinders in 1896. He was a Greek gymnastic, 10 years old. The oldest is 72. What have y'all been doing? Okay, number 5. Pass that torch. Here we go. Number 5. True or false? Live ammunition has been used at the Olympics. True or false? True. What did they shoot? No, what did they shoot? What did they shoot? What did they shoot at? Targets. Psst, wrong. Put in $1. It was in 1900. They shot pigeons. Pigeon shooting was the event. Number 6. Here we go. Number 6. The slowest Olympic marathon time was over 4 hours. True or false?
True.
True. Yes. What was it?
Something slower than 4 hours.
That'll cost you $1. A little smart aleck. It was in 1912, the Olympic athlete collapsed, took himself home. They didn't realize it until later. The officials came back decades later and let him finish the race in 1967. And so his time for the marathon was 54 years, 8 months, 6 days, 5 hours, 32 minutes, and 20.3 seconds. There you have it. So trivia for the Olympics. Collect that money if you don't mind, students of the month, and just put it in.
All right, thank you, Patty Beth. Robert, we're looking forward to your prayer. I think you're on next month for prayer time.
I'll start working there right now.
Invitation, so you might start practicing.
I just got to get a smoking hot wife. Actually, I do.
All right, we're gonna move on.
We got that recorded.
I think we could find Robert for that.
Very important. All month I've told you what day it is. Today is National Chocolate Covered Peanut Day. And our students of the month have them for sale. Guess how much they are? Who wants one?
Our Rotarian of the day is Leonard Miller.
Peanut.
And I'm looking to see if he's here. All right, looks like that would be a fine for him. Students of the month, Aiden Arnold and Walker West. Actually, if you guys want to make your way up here, and then you can finish collecting dollars, we're going to let you say your farewell speech. And with them, instead of Pat Dodson, is Bobby Croix. Bobby, you want to come up here also for their final?
We execute him. I don't think they heard that.
Okay. Hey, students, come on up here. We'll let you all give your farewell talk.
Just a quick reminder, next week we start Seussical the Musical at the high school at the PAC. Tickets are available online. So if you want to come out to the PAC, students have been working on it since, oh man, last October after school. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun presentation of basically Dr. Seuss stories told through song, very active, very musical. Should be exciting, so that starts next week. It goes Thursday, Saturday, and then there's matinee next Sunday.
Alright, I just want to say thank you guys so much for having me. I've had so much fun these past couple Wednesdays with you guys. I've learned so many things. I never knew that Creation Safari takes baby animals to nursing homes, and I think that's something really special. It really lifts their spirits. I also learned that I love to sing Old MacDonald Had a Farm during my lunchtime breaks, so I'll have to do that in the future. But I just want to say thank you so much. If you could wish me and my basketball team some luck in the future, and my football team career as well. So thank you for this opportunity.
I also wanted to thank you guys for having me. I learned a lot also. The first thing I learned was that you guys have really, really good food. And then I learned that you guys have over 60 bass tournaments on Grand Lake every year. And I really loved the fishing game person coming and talking to us. And I learned that they were from the hybrid bass in the lake. I really enjoyed that. And I learned that we had a safari in Wyandotte. I had no idea. And I just want to say thank you guys so much, and I'm really glad that I came.
Special thanks to the Drift for lunch today. And actually, while we're talking about the Drift, they made a donation to the Dolly Parton Imagination Library through the last trivia night that they did. So a special thank you to Austin and your crew for that. Really All right, we've got a few guests with us today. Dwayne Douglas is here with Suzanne Knott. Nikita Maston is here with one of the students, Walker West. Already brought him up here, but of course Bobby Croix here for Pat Dodson. Thank you, Bobby. And then Stacy Snider, as well as Josh Snider, who is our speaker. So thank you both for being here today. All right, if you have an announcement, go ahead and make your way up here. Not everybody at once. All right, Mary, if you all go and let you do the Dolly Parton announcement. Oh no, Suzanne got to be first.
I'm not following Mary. Listen, I just want to remind everybody about our social next month. It's at the Drunken Rooster this time. We will have a private space. I have a taco bar for us. That's March 18th, the day before March Madness starts. So we're going to have a little Rotary Madness. So hope to see you there.
Okay, it's time for the lower elementary book fair. So next Friday is the following week. I've got a sign-up sheet in the back. I'll also make an announcement next week. But we are looking for volunteers. It's a great time. The kids love it. The librarian is so...
Thank you.
It is time for our program. Charlie, if you'll make your way up here and introduce introduce our speaker.
Very good, thank you. Come on up, Josh. We're going to do it a little different style today. We're going to kind of do an interview style. Go ahead and have a seat there. I would like to introduce Josh Snider, our guest today. Josh is originally from Mooresville, North Carolina. And as you're going to learn about here a little bit, that's known as a kind of the epicenter of NASCAR and a lot of car racing. And we got to know Josh several years back when he first came to this area in 2017 and started working for Newell Coach. We've got several friends at Newell Coach, and we were fortunate enough to get to know Josh and Stacy several years ago. The interesting thing is, even though Josh knows a lot of very famous people, he's never a name dropper. We had to find out from, honestly, from other third parties that he was friends with the likes of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and other very famous people in the sport of racing. Josh went to school at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Grew up in that area, started after school, actually worked for Dale Earnhardt Incorporated before getting into motorhome sales with a company called Tom Johnson Camping Center. And that eventually led him to meet the Newell Coach people. I think a lot of people in this room are familiar with Newell Coaches, which are manufactured just up the road on the north side of Miami. Newell Coaches, if you don't know, are really the absolute pinnacle, top of the line coaches in the world. Those coaches sell for over $2.5 million per coach today. If you happen to see the documentary about Dale Earnhardt, just called Earnhardt, on Prime Video last year in 2025, Josh was in that documentary and was interviewed and so on. So it's kind of fun for us to watch and say I know that guy. So please, welcome Josh Snider. So we did a little talking ahead of time and asked a few questions and learned a lot, and we thought this more casual format of questions and answers might be good. We'll also save a little time at the end for questions from the audience. But all right, let's start with where you grew up. Tell us, for those of us that don't know, tell us a little bit about Mooresville, North Carolina, and specifically a little bit about its origins. I might have heard a rumor that bootlegging might have been a part of
Yes. Bootlegging, NASCAR, that's how I got started, moonshine. Who all here has had moonshine? All right, it's a pretty popular thing, especially back in the 50s. Well, where I'm from, it's kind of in the foothills of the Appalachians, and a lot of people have moonshine. And, well, to get that moonshine to their customers, they had to build really fast cars. And they would buy, like, normal-looking cars, and they would brag we had the fastest ones. They could, run from cops, and you kind of became like a legend among the local legends. You had the fastest car and all that stuff. So a lot of bragging rights came about, not just who made the best liquor, but really who had the fastest car to run from the cops. And that's kind of how NASCAR was formed. These guys were bragging, and they started to go down to Daytona because they could race cars on the beach. And that's where I started. Back to what your question about Mooresville is Mooresville kind of became the hub of racing. It was a lot of kind of like Grogan's. Lake town, a little north of Charlotte, how we're not far away from Tulsa. And it was probably about a town of 5,000 to 6,000 people. As racing started growing, a lot of people started putting these shops in Mooresville because it was pretty near where they were making moonshine. Their fathers might have made moonshine and passed their car counts on down to people. The race shops started growing, so the town started growing. And that's where I kind of grew. I grew up in this town, Mooresville, so I grew up, only thing I knew was NASCAR. And a lot of my friends' fathers, such as Dale Jr.'s dad, worked in NASCAR, maybe not as a driver, maybe as a mechanic. My history teacher, I remember, was a gas man. My math teacher was a jack man. So every Friday we had a substitute because I had to go to the race. So the town really took it on. And growing, just like I said, reminds me a lot of what Mooresville was like. And before NASCAR, well, as NASCAR started growing, but now we're a town of 50,000 people. It's really grown from 6,000 to 50,000 in just under 25 years. And they took ownership of it, and it's called Race City USA. So that's a little bit of background about NASCAR and Mooresville, kind of how it got going.
So we got the title of Race City USA.
Yes.
when we were speaking, I don't naturally watch a lot of NASCAR races. I watch maybe two. So I'm not an expert by any means. There's a few terminology you threw out when we were talking. So first of all, the term, I think you called it going over the wall or just over the wall.
Yes.
What does that mean, and what is a gas man and a jack man and so on?
Great question. Okay. You're going around the track. Your tires, you're going pretty fast. Your tires wear out. We got to get some new tires, and obviously you're going pretty fast. Got to fill up for fuel, so you have to make a pit stop. Well, you have right now it's 5 guys. It used to be 7. Go over, and within under a 12-second time period, they change all 4 tires and fuel it up with fuel and make adjustments. Adjustments might be, it's all about handling, so you might have to do a little bit of adjustment to your wedge and stuff like that. And all it is who can make it around the turn the fastest. They all go down the straightaway about the same speed, but who can go around the turn the fastest. So as the track adjusts and the cars get out, they have to make adjustments. So you do that over the wall. So these guys are engineers, but also great athletes. And I have a cousin that's a jack man now, still to this day, because a lot of my family from Mooresville, you know, works in it, but that's what going over the wall is. And the reason why they call it going over the wall is because you have a wall right there, you have a pit stall, you have to jump over the wall, and it takes guts to do it because the car's coming at you at 60 miles an hour. So you got to be kind of smart and dumb at the same time. You don't want to move around in front of the car, but in Mooresville we have a lot of smart, dumb people, so that's what they do, and they make really good money doing it, but still you got to be a little crazy.
Yeah, I was going to ask, it becomes a job market for a lot of the athletic youth in that area.
It does. You hear a lot of different old football players that might not have made it to the NFL, baseball players. It's really good college athletes, but they still want to compete. And they might have had an engineering degree, so they can do different things. So really NASCAR is a good sport for them to go into and get that competition edge.
We got to meet a jack man. Josh's 40th birthday party a few years ago, we were lucky enough to get invited to, and we were amazed at the number of people that flew in from North Carolina. And these are people that they're just average people, but then you got to talking with them and you find out they own a racing company or a racing crew, or they're on a pit crew, or this guy that's about 6'5", built like a linebacker at OU, he's a jack man, and now you realize how heavy that jack is and why they need those jackets. It was pretty eye-opening for us, I think. It was also a lot of fun.
It was, yeah. Thanks my wife for putting it on.
It was a surprise to Josh, and he had no idea all his friends were being flown in, so it was pretty cool. So I said earlier, Josh is very classy. He doesn't name drop. He's almost a little embarrassed at times and doesn't ever want to be accused of using some of his famous friends to further himself. And I think he's very humble that way. I like that. But with that being said, tell us about some of your famous friends.
Well, just like I said, I grew up in Mooresville, and I think as a kid you don't understand how big things are. And as I grew up, you know, you knew of Dale Earnhardt, you knew of Bill Elliott, and everyone else. But they were just people around town, and they were very famous in Mooresville, but you didn't think they were famous outside of Mooresville. And but you also realized that you saw them at the local restaurants after church on Sundays, if they had a Saturday night race. They were just normal people, much like you said, but just had a great talent for racing and driving cars and engineering and very smart. But through that I became a lot of very great friends, very loyal friends, because it was a very tight-knit community. And so you went to church. We were very big in the church growing up. I was the First Baptist growing up. And I remember that we had special church services on Mondays and Wednesdays to cater to the NASCAR community. So during that time, you know, these people, you know, you travel together, you go to church together, you live together. So it becomes very, very tight-knit, and you don't realize someone may be famous. So yes, some of my friends did become very famous worldwide, but I never realized really how big things were till about 97, 98, when I actually left a college, Baptist college called Wingate. Things just really wasn't going too well, so I moved back home. And me and Dale Earnhardt Jr. became very good friends during this time, and I moved in to a double-wide trailer across the street from the spot. So Dale Earnhardt Sr. was my landlord, and he was a very intimidating man. but he yelled at us a few times. But he was a very good man, and he taught us really good values. And it's kind of unique looking at his perspective and learning his perspective on things. And I'm very thankful to God for during that time, because you saw a man that was really up here, how humble and how real he really was. And I still did not realize how famous Dale Sr. was until he passed away, unfortunately. And it was just 25 years ago, we just lost him. It was tough because, one, you saw my best friend lose his father in such a public thing in such a dramatic way. But also, too, it blew me away by how many people he touched and the impact he had in the world. And I thought, how cool is that at 49 years old, he accomplished so much in 49 years of his life. But yet he took the time to help an old Mooresville boy like me, guide me, because at the time I was struggling with college. Didn't know if I wanted to continue going to school. And he talked about becoming a businessman, how we can't take the college education away from you and stuff like that. And unfortunately, one of my biggest things he said is he didn't see me graduate college, which really, because it was taken away from us. But one of the coolest things was I got to go work for his company. And kind of take the values that he taught us in that double wide trailer of, you know, we were young and stupid, we made a lot of dumb decisions. But he wouldn't just come and yell at us, he would give us the reasons why. And he was a very educated man with only an 8th grade education, but just so smart behind his years of experience. But through him, I got to meet a lot of very neat people, very prominent people as well. And it kind of gave me a lot of street credit with these people. So I got to meet Johnny Moore at some Bass Pro Shops and get to know them very well. August Bush of Anheuser-Busch. And what I realized is everybody's pretty much normal and going through their struggles of life, but yet they all have key people they rely on. And just because they might make gazillions of dollars, don't make any difference than us. And that kind of humbled me a little bit, but also gave me the drive to, I can accomplish what they've accomplished. And that was just the gift of being raised in a small town, and this NASCAR grew up like that. So that's kind of a little bit of a background about meeting famous people. Is you always hear they put their pants on the same way we do, one leg at a time. They go through every struggle. I remember when Dale Jr.'s father died, we were a month after, we were driving down the road, just he and I. Remember they used to put flowers on the front porch when somebody passed away. And they would have a sign, slow funeral procession. That was really big in Mooresville. You look at me and go, see, everybody has the same problems I do, even 100 yards down the road. So, yeah, it was really cool, and it led me to Grove, Oklahoma. So, kind of a roundabout way, and yes, Dale Earnhardt Sr. did have a little coach.
For those of you that don't know, Dale Sr. famously died at the Daytona 500 in a crash, if you didn't know this, in the late 90s. And it was, if you were a NASCAR fan at that time, it was quite devastating because he was one of the upper echelon of their racers. Pretty big deal.
Yes.
And Dale Jr. was really just kind of getting started in car racing. He hadn't been in series racing until really close to when his father died, right?
Yeah, his father passed away, and he was just done with his rookie year, and he had Budweiser as a big sponsor. But that was tough. Watching him go through that and struggles he went through, but also too, it was cool to watch the community wrap themselves around him. And we would get in really deep talks, which he had to grow up really fast. But he had a community backing around him, and that's what made Racing USA so special. And so you learn to appreciate small towns, and that's what, like what you guys are doing today, these awesome announcements, and how y'all take care of charity and stuff, was no different in Mooresville. And this reminds me a lot of like a NASCAR gathering of how can we do things to make things better. I know one of their big foundations is Make-A-Wish, or maybe Make-A-Wish, the Victory Junction Game, and stuff like that. A number of other charities they do. They all have their foundations to support stuff. But it exactly reminds me a lot of what's going on in this room today. So it's cool to see it happening everywhere.
So let's move forward. Your first job out of college, actually with Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, and you were doing marketing and public relations. Tell us a little bit about that. I thought it was interesting when you were explaining part of your job. I always look at everything as a business, and I realized that racing is an entertainment business but the more you talked, I realized that NASCAR in particular is really a product promotion business. Is that fair to say?
That's all it is. That's all it is riding billboard. What they realize is, hey, we're going from these moonshine cars, you know, to, man, people are watching this. We can put Pepsi on there. Wow, they would go buy Pepsis at the grandstand. And that's how it really started, even from hot dogs. Like they had a hot dog war going on. One guy wanted a hot dog. I remember at Martinsville racetrack, he had a certain brand hot dog, and this other guy, so it was like who could sponsor the most cars, so they'd recognize it and go buy hot dogs at the concession stand. And it grew from that. And that's really what it is. It's a riding commercial. How much time you get is measured in your sponsors. And so my job as a public relations marketing person was try to get as much exposure for my driver and my sponsor. For instance, Bass Pro Shops, that's an easy one to talk about because they're in Springfield, Missouri. I would always try to get Martin Truex, Ardell Jr., in some type of an article in the Springfield paper. So that way Johnny Morse, when he'd open it up, wow, I'm getting the value of my sponsorship. We even did it to different media markets. For instance, Truex was from Atlantic City, which is near Philadelphia. So I called the Philadelphia Daily News. Bass Pro Shops did buy some advertisements in there. In return, they would run Truex, a little article on how Truex did every week. And Philadelphia was probably at that time the #4 media market in the nation, which was really huge for us. So you would do things like that. So it was always constant promotions in your driving, because the more promotions you got, the more it was always added up at the end with the report called the Joyce report. And you'd always try to get more sponsor dollars, because the more money you got, the better you would run. The more exposure you got, and you won trophies, which obviously was the end goal.
I once read a statistic that said that of all the celebrity endorsements, sports celebrity endorsements across the world, the NASCAR driver sponsorship pass through. In other words, if you're a fan of that driver, you are more likely to buy the products they promote than any other celebrity sports endorsement in the world.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, that's so hard. You see it in the brands, the car brands. You know, they also say win on Sunday, sell on Monday. That was a big thing. And so Chevy, Ford, it started with that. Then I remember we had Budweiser. And all they cared about, they didn't care if you won. They would know did you beat the Miller car, did you beat the Coors car. And it was, so it became, and NASCAR did a great job of setting it up with this competition to bring more money into the sport, but it became an ego thing. And so really the marketing and branding of it really took off. The Lowe's, Home Depot. Unfortunately, some of that has fallen off because, you know, people transition through marketing, but now you have new age things coming in, sponsoring sport, but still, car manufacturers probably the #1 driving force behind it. And they do love NASCAR because NASCAR is a stock car. You can buy it off your showroom floor and go race it. That's the Imagine versus the Indy car and Formula One looks more like a race car. So that's why the car manufacturers are so important.
So then you get into motorhome sales. I find this interesting. Tell me, or tell them, why do we see motorhomes in the infields of a racetrack?
Well, one, it's come for the party, stay for the race, for the fans. That's great. You don't want to go to the hotel room. You want to stay in your tent. But what I mainly specialize in is driver, owners, and crew chiefs. And what happened in the early 90s, a couple of drivers got tired of waiting in traffic as NASCAR grew. You had to stay in a hotel, but you had to leave like at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to get to the track on time to go race. So a couple of drivers got pretty smart about a motorhome and started camping with the fans. Well, they were getting bothered by the fans a little bit. So there's
a lot of been partying the night.
A lot of parties. Like I said, you come for the party, you stay for the race. And a lot of people. Well, the France family, they own NASCAR, so some of the drivers went to it, and Bill France thought in his head, you know, this was a time whenever you heard in the mid-90s, a lot of things were going around. People were getting DWIs, having affairs. This things really wasn't going good, and they wanted to make this a family sport for these sponsors. So he kind of said, I got to cage these boys up, in a way. And that's when they made a driver-owner lot in the infield, and it took some convincing these track owners because they only have a couple events a year and they got to maximize every dollar. So NASCAR had to go to these tracks and saying, hey, we want to take a section of your infield out, and you're not going to make any revenue. You got to, put this infrastructure in. And in return, it's going to give us a clean look on our sport, keep everybody in, and they can bring their families, their wives, their kids, and make a community out of it. And that's kind of what it is today. And to get in that driver-owner lot is a very sacred space, because it's like Dale Jr. says, imagine my mailbox is out front, because now they stay in their motorhomes during the season where they stay in their own homes. And so that's where dual coach comes into play and what I do for a living now. I sell that so they can have that experience with their family. I just came back from Daytona, and I meet just as much with the wives as I do the actual race car driver. In fact, the wives kind of control the situation, because let's face it, they know what the kids need and want. And so that's what we do at Dual Coach. Us being a custom coach manufacturer, we can build anything these guys want to fit their family needs while they're on the road.
Very good. And I know that you went to Tom Johnson. Those were, I don't know the proper term, I'm going to call them mid-level, but still nice coaches. And then you eventually graduated to big league
employees at Tom Johnson. But Tom Johnson was a great stepping stone, and how I got there was I was doing PR, didn't really know what my next step was going to be, because Dale Sr. was gone. I had some advisors and stuff, but it kind of came organically to me. God leads you in different paths and you don't know why. And well, the guy I was representing, Truex, needed a motorhome. And so I had a buddy that worked at a motorhome store, and we just went there and decided to be Tom Johnson's and helped him buy a motorhome. And then a couple other drivers like, hey, I heard you helped Mark buy a motorhome. Can you help me? So I'm like, yes. So I just kept taking it to my buddy. Well, eventually Mr. Johnson hired me, and didn't know much about a motorhome. I knew how to negotiate a little bit, knew the markup, knew a little bit of things, but not enough to be a representative. So I spent my first 6 months getting a crash education on motorhomes, and that's what led me to here today in Grove.
Well, we are glad you're here. So for those of us that don't know much about the behind the scenes of NASCAR, we learned a few things around you, such as sponsorships. That it's interesting that you might have, like we were at your house one night, and Dale Jr. was racing, so it was on the television, and my wife Christy had commented that, oh, he's not even up in the front of the pack, and but you said it didn't really matter because he was doing it for sponsorship. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when you have a big name, these sponsors want to be associated with a big name. Well, Junior owns what we call second level team. It's like the Busch Series. Now I think it's their National Raleigh Park Series. They race on Saturdays. Well, not people like Hellman's, Unilever is going to give $8 to $10 million for a kid that's unknown. So a lot of times Dale Jr. will hop in the car for a couple races and get really big money to help fund the rest of the racing season. And Hellman's is a great example of that. And he really had a big relationship off with them. Kind of funny, talk about the power of social media and Twitter. Who's ever had a mayonnaise banana sandwich before? It's a very, very southern thing. Well, he did want to use Hellman's mayonnaise and tweeted out about it. Well, Hellman's loved it, and that got him a sponsor. And they wanted him to be there, and it was a big sponsor with Unilever. So he has to do these specialty races, and he's not going to be able to go out there and win. Why? Because he's not in driver's shape. He's not raced a couple times a year, but he'll go out there and supposed to he'll ride around a little bit. And he's wanting to be competitive, but he's just not. You're not doing it every week. You're not at that elite level. You're good, but you're not great. And but he rode around. His goal was to get a top 10, and he got it. And he was very proud of himself that night. But he was out of breath and he was sore for like 6 weeks. But he did it in return. Hellman's gave him a lot of dollars to go help bring this kid up named Josh Berry at the time, who's now in the Cup Series. And so you never really know how things are going to affect and how things are going to happen in life. And that just kind of fell into his lap all because of the mayonnaise banana sandwich. Think about it. So little things like that happen. That was kind of lucky. But yeah, they'll do some different unique races like that and try to fund the bill.
That's awesome. Well, I think now would be a good time to open it up for questions. I think you stay here. I'll kind of walk around with a microphone, and if you can't holler it out, but we've got some questions. We'll start right here with Joe.
Howard Cosell, back 30, 40 years ago, said that, in his opinion, the best athletes were race car drivers. When I think of an athlete, I think of a big, burly football player, a tall, quick basketball player. I just don't think of race car drivers as being the best athletes. What makes them, in your opinion, the best athletes, according to Howard Cosell?
That's a great question. A lot of athletes are good at reaction, hand-eye coordination. That is very key. What makes Tom Brady different from others is the fact that he knew where everything is. He had great hand-eye coordination, all that stuff. Same thing with the race car. You're going so fast, I don't know, unless you've actually been in a race car, it's kind of hard to describe. Imagine going 150 miles an hour down the road and turning left or right. You had a pretty good reaction, but all of a sudden that car's going to slip. So you got to make adjustments pretty fast. And it's not as easy. It's not like you do have power steering, not power steering like this. The races are very long, 3 to 4 hours, 150 degrees, heat inside. So your endurance has to be there. We were talking about a marathon runner earlier. A lot of these guys, it's more of an endurance type athlete. To do that over and over again, to hit those fine points. And these guys are going 200 miles an hour and they're within a tenth of a second. And if they make one wrong adjustment, one wrong move, they can be killed. So you have to be very good coordination, very good hand-eye coordination, reaction time, and endurance. And I think that's what the athleticism comes in. They might not be the fastest runners, and but they can, their coordination and stuff, I think, is very athletic. I hope that answers your question.
Over here, John.
Yeah, this is a different kind of question. Does Tom Cruise actually know how to drive a race car?
Actually, yes. That was done by Rick Higgert, Days of Thunder. And there's another great movie I meant to mention earlier with Charlie Wallace. Watch Days of Thunder, but watch The Last American Hero. It was done in 1973, and it talks about the moonshiny days. He coming up through NASCAR. But Days of Thunder, yes, Tom Cruise. That was filmed a lot in Mooresville, so he was around Mooresville a lot. Actually, that's where him and Nicole Kidman got busted. But he was very, very involved in racing. Him and Rick Hendrick to this day are still really good friends. I went fishing with Mr. Hendrick one time. He had this big book of people who'd been fishing with him, and Tom was in a lot of the pictures. And I got talking to Mr. Hendrick about it, and Tom Cruise still comes and drives cars with him a lot at these little country club racetracks. So yes, he's a very good race car driver.
Over here, Joe.
So in NASCAR these days, because of all the coverage, there's a lot of drama between drivers, wives, crews, all of that. Is that real, or is this more like wrestling, where there's a lot of acting going on?
Some of it's real, yes. Some of it's a little bit exaggerated. I think the media does a good job of kind of, they know how to hype up the situation. It's almost like they know how to antagonize the driver. If the driver's a little bit mad, they want to kind of push him a little bit and get him over the edge. And a lot of people got to realize these drivers are young. So they don't realize what the reporter and people are trying to do, but they're also very emotional. A lot, yes, it's very real. And then some of them might carry it out for a little bit of entertainment, but if you don't get mad at somebody that might wreck you at the racetrack, you got 100 guys that work their tail off at the shop to build that race car, and you just get to drive it. And so if you don't go defend that guy that took out the work that those 100 guys did, you don't go back to the race shop the next day. So a lot of the drama is real because these are lives. These are people that are making, this is how they feed their families. And the drivers make millions and millions of dollars. But a lot of the crew guys and a lot of guys back at the shop don't. And if they don't perform well, then they're out of a job. So I would say it's more real than entertainment, but there is an entertainment factor to it.
Over here.
Started out as Winston Cup. What was the progression from Winston Cup to NASCAR?
Okay, Winston Cup came about in the early 70s, and the last American hero I just talked about, Junior Johnson, was a famous moonshiner. And back in the early 70s, the government made it, you cannot make commercials no more for cigarettes. And so Winston had all this money, and they were out of Winston-Salem, RJ Reynolds, and so they went to Junior Johnson and said, well, I can sponsor for this amount of money. And he goes, that's way too much, you can sponsor the whole series. So he got the Friends family up there, and they worked out a deal to become the Winston Cup Series. And that was the most elite series, and it went all the way until 2003, until you could not have any more print advertisements or any type of advertisements for cigarettes. But Winston Cup really helped grow the sport because that was their #1 marketing tool, since they couldn't use commercials or anything like that anymore.
Over here, Josh.
All right, on the advertisement, they show Sunoco. Is that the spec fuel?
They do use racing fuel. You have different types of racing fuel, but this is a higher octane racing fuel. And it is Sunoco racing fuel. They actually make it at Sunoco Lab, yes.
Is it 105 leaded?
I believe it's 110 right now. They just changed it with the next gen car, so I believe it's 110 octane, I believe, and I could be wrong on that right now. Because they just made a new engine package. So I think they changed the fuel type.
Okay, on test day, how many of the teams have a blue 55-gallon can that says AP on it?
Huh?
How many race teams in their trailer have a blue can that says AP on it for their time trial?
Well, they used to have, all of them used to have it, but now they have changed the rules up dramatically now. So now you have to get the fuel from, you can't get it from your 55-gallon can anymore, because Michael Walker tried to put jet fuel in his higher octane, and they told him he got busted, and I believe that was in 2015. So now you have to get the gas from NASCAR. You cannot bring in your own fuel anymore. Which a lot of teams were really mad at him about it, because they had all this engineering and fuel experts, and they kind of threw that out the window.
Josh, over here you go.
Yes.
So I'm sure you've heard of Taylor Raymer. Taylor Raymer.
I have not.
She is one of the only women NASCAR drivers. She's also Oklahoma born and OU graduate and cheerleader. And I was going to say, does a new coach think about sponsoring her?
Well, you can talk to Mr. Grant Kern and Pat Dwyer about that. That is well over my pay range. But we do have, there is one NASCAR Cup Series driver, Christopher Bell from Norman, Oklahoma, and he is a dual customer. So that was very important for us to get him.
One final question. How many Newell coaches can fit on the interior of a racetrack?
Oh, good question.
And I'm going to do the math in my head.
Well, depends. We only built 28 a year, so we try to get all 28 in there.
Don Pepper's got a question over here for you.
Quick question. In terms of viewership, I've heard numbers in the millions. How many countries and what is your general viewership in NASCAR?
The Daytona 500 just had 7.7 million viewers, which is the biggest race, which is pretty good. Countries is expanding out. Japan's been really popular because Toyota's come into play. South America is pretty big. Canada and Mexico. But it's not as worldwide as Formula One. Formula One's more European, but one thing we found out is Australia just recently has become really big into NASCAR, so it's really widespreading. And I don't know how many people of you have ever been to the Chili Bowl? Awesome event in Tulsa. First motorhome ever sold is the guy that puts that on. But a lot of that's a stepping stone to get into NASCAR. And we had a lot of people from other countries come in to participate in the Chili Bowl this year. So it's definitely growing worldwide. I think NASCAR needs to do a little bit more of promoting that like the NFL is doing to get it out there in other countries, but they're trying.
Josh, thank you so much, man.
Josh, Charlie, thank you guys very much. That was very informative, so appreciate it. Next week is Dana Abel with the new Wolf Creek Expo, and hopefully all of you made it out. A lot of you went to the Home and Garden Show this past weekend to see that building. Don't forget, we are stacking the blue chairs 8 high, and we are putting out 7 metal chairs, so if you can help with that, that would be great. We'll go ahead and stand and adjourn with the 4-way test. And the things that we think, say, or do.
This is the truth. This is the fair law and concern.